A wicked magician wanted a magic lamp from a cave. The only person small enough to get it was a boy called Aladdin.
If I give you this magic ring, will you go in there and get that lamp for me?
Aladdin entered the cave but decided to keep the lamp for himself. The magician was so annoyed he shut the entrance and Aladdin was trapped. He managed to escape and gave the lamp a polish and a genie appeared.
What is your wish, O master?
An enormous palace to live in, please.
I shall pick this beautiful rose for my daughter, said a man breaking into the gardens of a castle, but the beast who lived there caught him. If you let your daughter come and live here, I will let you go. When the girl arrived, the beast was so kind to her she kissed him, and he turned into a prince.
Oh, you're very handsome.
Once there lived 3 bears.
Who's been eating my porridge?
Not yet, baby bear. One morning, while out walking, waiting for their porridge to cool down, a little girl called Goldilocks entered their cottage and saw their breakfast.
Oh, that looks like nice porridge.
I think I'll eat it. Who's been eating my porridge?
Goldilocks. But she's gone now. Sorry.
Oh.
An old lady loved baking gingerbread men, but one of them jumped off the kitchen table and ran away.
Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
When he reached a stream, a fox offered him a lift, but opened his mouth and ate him instead.
Yum, yum. Hansel and Gretel lived with their father and wicked stepmother.
I hate being poor. If I lose the children in the woods, that would be good.
Well, Hansel and Gretel didn't get lost. In fact, they found a house belonging to a hungry witch who wanted to eat them for her tea. But Hansel and Gretel managed to push her in the oven and escape.
Dad, we're home.
Which pleased him because he'd sent the wicked stepmother away for being so wicked. Do you know how the whale got his throat?
No. How?
Well, there was a sailor shipwrecked on a raft and he got swallowed by a whale.
Oh, poor sailor.
Well, don't worry, he was all right. He jumped up and down and he shouted and the whale spat him out, but not before he tied the raft inside the whale's mouth with his braces.
And is that why whales can only swallow small fishes?
Exactly.
I've always wanted to be a real girl.
Said a mermaid after saving the life of a prince who was swept from his ship in a storm.
Then he would fall in love with me.
Well, she went to the water witch and asked her for help.
I will turn you into a real girl, but you must give me your voice in return.
The mermaid agreed, and with her new legs she rushed off to the prince. But by the time she got there, he was sailing away, and she couldn't shout out after him.
3 little pigs decided to build some new houses.
I shall build mine out of straw,
Said the first pig.
and I'll huff and puff it down.
I shall build mine out of sticks, said the second pig.
And I'll huff and puff it down,
I shall build mine of bricks.
Said the third pig.
Let's see if he can blow this down.
And he couldn't, so the wolf climbed down the chimney and fell right into the cooking pot. Little Red Riding Hood went to visit her grandmother who was ill in bed, but on the way a wolf spotted her and rushed there first, shutting her grandmother in the cupboard.
I shall dress in grandmother's clothes and wait for her.
Sneered the wolf.
What big ears you have.
Said Little Red Riding Hood.
All the better to hear you with.
What a big mouth you have.
All the better to eat you with.
Said the wolf, but the old woman burst out of the cupboard and hit him on the head with her broom.
One cold winter, a little girl was selling matches to make money. Well, she was so cold she struck the matches to keep warm. In the glow of the flames, she saw her grandmother. The girl was so cold she fainted, and in her dream she flew off with her grandmother to where it was nice and warm.
Rats, rats everywhere.
Screamed the mayor of Hamlin.
If anyone can rid me of these rats, I will give them lots of money.
I can.
Said the Pied Piper, playing a lovely tune. And all the rats followed him down the river and got swept away, but the greedy mayor refused to pay him, so the Pied Piper played a different tune. And all the children followed him out of Hamlin and were never seen again.
Peter lived with his grandfather at the edge of a forest.
Oh, look, Grandad, a wolf.
Said Peter.
Let's see if I can catch it.
Peter tied the wolf to a tree, but when some hunters came and wanted to kill it, he said,
No, I caught him first. Hands off.
I'm Robinson Crusoe, and I've been shipwrecked on a desert island. I was all alone until one Friday I met a new friend.
Hello, it's me, Friday.
We called him that because that was the day I found him. Problem is, I'm just about to be rescued. Sorry, Friday. You'll be okay, won't you?
A farmer was so proud of his daughter, he told the king.
She can spin straw into gold, you know.
The girl couldn't weave gold, but a little man appeared and promised to do it for her if she gave him her first child. The king was so pleased he married the girl, and soon they had a baby. The little man came to collect it.
Only if you can guess my name can you keep your baby,
he said. The girl thought for a while.
Oh, it's Rumpelstiltskin.
How did you know?
I've heard this story before.
I am just going out, and while I'm away, I want you to get some water from the well.
Said a wizard.
And no magic.
As soon as he was gone, the boy magicked a broomstick to fetch the water for him. But the broomstick would not stop, and the boy didn't know how to stop the flood.
Isn't this the one when the Queen says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall"?
Yes, that's the one.
And Snow White ends up in a cottage with 7 dwarfs. Now, what are their names? Grumpy, Sleepy...
Oh, don't forget the
Sneezy,
Queen tried to
Doc,
poison Snow White with a
Donkey,
poisoned
and
apple, and she fell into a
what's the
deep
last
sleep.
one?
But a prince came along, kissed her, and she woke up.
I'll bet he was happy.
No, that was one of the dwarfs.
Oh.
Open sesame!
Cried the 40 thieves outside their secret cave. The entrance opened and in they went to where their treasure was hidden. Ali Baba had overheard their secret password, and as soon as they were gone, he shouted,
Open sesame!
He went inside, filled his pockets with gold, and then took it home to show his wife.
I must tell my brother Kasim,
She said once Ali Baba had gone, but when Kasim broke into the cave, the thieves caught him.
You will find all the gold at Ali Baba's house.
The thieves went off and hid outside the house in clay jars, but Ali Baba's servant poured boiling oil in each jar, and that was the end of the thieves. Help! Help! There's a wolf eating my sheep!
cried a young shepherd boy for a joke. All the farmers ran to his rescue, but when they arrived, the boy laughed.
Ha ha! There's no wolf! It was a joke!
Each day the boy played the same trick until one day a wolf really did come.
Help! Help! Wolf!
But this time the farmers didn't come because they were bored with his trick. So the wolf ate all the sheep.
Look, Mother! An invitation to the prince's ball!
Squealed Cinderella's stepsisters.
Can I come?
No!
And off they went, leaving Cinderella on her own. Just then her fairy godmother appeared. You shall go to the ball, but you must be back by midnight. Cinderella danced with the prince until midnight, when she ran home, losing one of her slippers.
The girl who wore this slipper will be my bride,
Announced the prince, and after a long search he found Cinderella and married her. One day Jenny met an old lady who gave her a magic cooking pot.
Put this on the fire and say, boil, little pot, boil, and it will make soup for you.
She said.
And when you've had enough, say, stop, little pot, stop.
Jenny went home and made some lovely soup for her mum, but then she went out and her mother decided to try the little pot on her own. Boil, little pot, boil, she said, and the pot started boiling, but she couldn't remember the words to stop it, and it wasn't long before the soup boiled over and started filling up the house.
Heidi went to live with her grandfather in the Swiss mountains. You will make new friends here, Peter and Clara, he said. Now, Peter was jealous of Clara and one night pushed her wheelchair over a cliff.
Without my wheelchair, how am I going to get about?
Asked Clara.
I will help you walk,
Said Heidi, and after many months, Clara was walking perfectly. Jack and his mum were very poor. The only thing they had was a cow.
I shall sell a cow, and it will make us rich.
Thought Jack, but all he got was a handful of beans.
What?
Screamed his mum, and she threw the beans out of the window. But the beans grew into a huge beanstalk, which Jack decided to climb.
Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Jack grabbed a bag of the giant's gold and ran back down.
No, can't catch me.
Laughed Jack, and he chopped down the stalk, and that was the end of the giant.
Hi, I'm Mowgli, and when I was little, I got lost in the jungle but was looked after by a wolf. A big old bear called Baloo taught me about all the ways of the jungle. This is Bagheera the panther, and he's going to take me to a village where humans live, because a horrible tiger called Shere Khan keeps trying to kill me. But don't worry, I can use a burning stick to chase him away. Even if I do decide to live in the village, I can always come back and visit my friends.
Gotcha,
roared a lion as he grabbed a little mouse.
Please don't eat me. I won't fill you up.
Yeah, I suppose,
said the lion, and he let the mouse go. A few days later, the lion got caught in a net. The mouse, hearing his calls for help, came to his rescue and chewed through the rope, setting him free.
Thanks, mouse.
Pleasure, Mr. Lion.
Sorry, Puss,
said a small boy to his cat.
but I don't have enough money to feed you.
Don't worry.
Said Puss.
If you take off your clothes and swim in the river, I will make you rich.
Puss hid the boy's clothes and put on his boots and ran to the king.
My master, the Duke, is swimming, and some thieves have stolen his clothes.
The king was so surprised by a talking cat, he shouted,
Guards, take my finest clothes down to the lad.
which they did. And when the king's daughter saw the boy in his expensive clothes, she fell in love with him and they were married.
Once upon a time, a beautiful baby was born, but a witch was so enchanted by her, she stole the girl and locked her in a tall tower for many years. The tower had no doors, so the witch had to call,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
and the witch climbed up.
I think I'll give that a go.
Thought a prince as he overheard the witch.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
He climbed up her hair and rescued Rapunzel from the wicked witch.
A king and a queen had a baby girl, but a bad fairy put a spell on her.
When you are older, you will prick your finger and sleep for 100 years.
And, just as she had promised, when the princess was older, she stumbled over the old fairy spinning.
Would you like to try, my dear?
Asked the fairy, but the girl pricked her finger on the spindle and fell asleep. She would have slept for 100 years had it not been for a handsome prince who found her and woke her with a kiss. A mother duck sat waiting for her eggs to hatch. One by one, a head popped out, but the last duck was quite different.
Quack, quack, you're ugly.
Teased the other ducks, so he hid himself away in a barn. But by the next spring, he was no longer an ugly duckling.
Hey, look at you. You're a beautiful swan now.
Hey, Heron, if you get this bone out of my throat,
Coughed a wolf.
I will give you a reward.
The heron stuck his long neck into the wolf's throat and pulled out the bone with his beak. What's my reward? Asked the heron.
That I didn't bite your head off.
My silly cousin Helen,
Moaned Katy.
She's not very well. She limps and she always complains that her back hurts.
The crosser Katy got, the harder she swung. All of a sudden, she crashed to the ground. She screamed. Katy was all right, but was so frightened that she might have hurt herself, she was never horrid to her cousin again. There was once an ugly man with a big blue beard, and one day a girl came to visit him and was so impressed by his house, she decided to marry him. Now, Bluebeard had been married before, but all his wives had disappeared.
Feel free to go anywhere in my house,
Said Bluebeard to his new wife.
except the room at the end of the corridor.
The girl was so curious, she went into the room and saw all Bluebeard's past wives.
Now you've disobeyed me, you will join the others.
He shouted, but the girl's brothers arrived just in time to save their sister.
3 billy goats wanted to cross a bridge, but there was a troll standing guard.
I'm gonna eat you for my supper.
He shouted as the first goat crossed the bridge.
Don't eat me. My brother is much bigger.
When the third goat went across, the troll shouted,
I'm gonna eat you for my supper.
but the goat butted him over the hill.
Oh, this is my last piece of leather, and I'm too poor to buy any more, said a shoemaker. That night some elves appeared and made the leather into beautiful shoes. The shoemaker couldn't believe his eyes.
We'll keep making your shoes for you,
Said one of the elves.
if you make us some warm clothes for winter.
And that's what happened.
What's this?
exclaimed a fisherman, pulling a bottle from the sea. As he took out the cork, a terrible genie appeared.
What do you mean by this? Letting me go 1,000 years too late?
Roared the genie,
I don't believe you came from that small bottle.
said the quick-thinking fisherman.
Oh, yes, I did, and I'll prove it.
And he dived back in the bottle. The fisherman quickly put the cork back and threw the bottle back into the sea.
I really fancy some cheese.
Thought a fox, noticing a crow holding some in his mouth.
Hey, Crow,
He said,
what silky black feathers you have. I wonder if you can sing as beautifully as you look.
The crow, who was greatly flattered, opened his beak and crowed, dropping the cheese on the floor.
Thanks, Crow.
Said the fox, gobbling up the cheese.
A princess accidentally dropped her favourite ball down a well.
Oh, no!
A frog who lived at the bottom of the well heard her cries and brought it up for her.
Oh, thank you.
Said the princess, and she gave the frog a little kiss, and he turned into a handsome prince. A donkey, a dog, a cat and a cockerel were all too old to work, so they decided to go into the town of Bremen to sing for their living. On the way, they got hungry and stopped at a house where they could see a table full of food.
It's time for a first concert.
Said the dog, and they all started singing. The people that lived in the house thought the noise was a ghost, so ran away, leaving all the food.
I want to marry my girlfriend.
Announced a prince.
But to be sure she is a princess, I have a little test.
And he hid a pea under a pile of mattresses. That night she tried to sleep on the bed, but couldn't because she could feel the pea.
Then she must be a princess.
Thought the prince, and married her.
Those look like nice grapes.
Said a fox, jumping up and down to try and reach them, but they were too high.
What you can't reach, you don't need.
Said the fox, and walked off down the road.
I'm a very clever prince, but I only have a stupid tuft of hair on my head.
Said Prince Ricky.
I am beautiful, but a little stupid.
Said a princess. But when she married the prince, as if by magic, she became clever and he became handsome.
And they both lived happily ever after.
I'm off shopping, said a mother goat, leaving her 7 kids behind.
Now's my chance,
Growled a wolf as he saw her leave, so he dipped his paws in flour and softened his voice.
Little kids, let me in. I'm your mother.
Said the wolf. So the kids let him in, and he gobbled them all up. When their mother returned, she found a full wolf sleeping on the floor. She opened his mouth and pulled out her kids and filled him with stones instead. So when the wolf crossed the river on his way home, he sunk and was never seen again.
King Sharia liked to have lots of different wives. Each day, I'll chuck one wife away and marry a new one. Today, I'll marry Shahrazad. Well, the clever Shahrazad wanted to stay married, so she started to tell a story. Oh, how does the story end?
I'll tell you one day.
Said Shahrazad. So the king kept her as his wife, hoping one day to hear the end of the story.
Ah, soldier!
Croaked a witch.
In that tree you'll find an old tinder box. Fetch it for me and I will make you rich.
The soldier got the tinderbox, but wondering why the witch wanted it so, decided to try it out for himself. As he used it, 3 dogs appeared, granting the soldier anything he wanted. All of gold and jewels. And he became very rich.
Once there lived a tiny boy called Tom Thumb.
Your son will be brilliant in our travelling show.
Said some passing showmen. They paid for the boy, but hadn't gone too far away when Tom Thumb escaped and ran back to his mother and father. He was much happier with them.
Hey, tortoise.
Said a hare,
Fancy a race? Bet I'll win.
and off he shot. The tortoise just kept on plodding,
He'll never beat me. Time for a nap.
thought the hare. But by the time the hare woke up, the tortoise had plodded past and won the race.
Hooray!
A town mouse went to visit his mouse friend in the country, but all she ate was barley grains.
I don't like your food,
said the town mouse.
You must come and visit me in the town and eat sweets and cheese and other fine foods.
The country mouse went to stay in the town, but the cook kept chasing the mice back to their hole, which frightened the country mouse.
I don't like it here,
said the country mouse, and they both agreed they preferred their own homes best. A hungry wolf came up with a plan to catch sheep.
I will find an old sheepskin and dress up like a sheep, and then I can hide amongst them and catch one when I'm ready.
But a farmer saw him, and thinking he was a nice fat sheep, took him home for his supper.
Dorothy lived on a farm with her aunt, uncle, and little dog, Toto. One day, a tornado carried Dorothy, her dog, and the farmhouse to a magical land.
To find your way home,
said a good fairy to Dorothy,
you must follow the yellow brick road to the Emerald City and ask the Wizard of Oz to help you. And take these magic slippers with you.
She met many friends on the way, but in the end the wizard couldn't help. In desperation to get home, she tapped the magic slippers together, and they took her all the way home. There was a lady who couldn't have children, so she bought a magic seed from a witch. When it grew, there was a tiny girl sitting in the petals.
I shall call you Thumbelina.
Just then, a toad grabbed the little girl for her son to marry. Help! A passing swallow heard her calls and took her to a tiny prince who she married instead. All summer long, the ants worked hard collecting grain for the winter, while the lazy grasshopper sat and sung. That winter, the grasshopper got hungry and asked the ants for some grain.
No,
they said. How long do you think it took Phileas Fogg and his friend Passepartout to go around the world?
80 days?
Yes, exactly. And they went by balloon and plane and boat and train and yacht.
I wonder what's through that looking glass,
thought Alice. So she stepped through the glass, and before she knew it, she was watching a battle between Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Let me introduce you to a horse named Black Beauty.
Is he called Black Beauty 'cause he's black?
Yes.
And he's a beauty?
Oh, yes.
And what did he do?
Oh, lots of things. He used to pull a cab in London, you know.
Ooh.
And he had a friend called Captain.
Is he nice?
He's a beauty.
My name is Buck. Brr. I used to live in a nice home until I was sold to some men to help pull their sledge. It's very cold where I work now, but that doesn't matter because I'm very strong and brave. Brr.
Let me tell you about Davy Crockett. He was born in Tennessee. He was a great shot with a rifle, and he fought in the battle to win Texas from Mexico.
A fox invited a stork to dinner and made some wonderful soup. But to tease the stork, he put it in a shallow dish.
I can't eat that with my long beak. You must come to me for dinner instead.
But when the fox arrived, he found his soup in a tall jug.
I can't get my tongue in that,
said the fox, and they both laughed. The oldest of 3 sons went off to chop down some trees for firewood.
Could I have your lunch, please?
Asked a tiny man who appeared by the tree.
No,
said the boy, and the little man disappeared. The same thing happened with the middle son, but when the tiny man asked the younger son to share his lunch, he said,
of course.
Thank you,
said the man, and told the boy to chop down the nearest holly tree. Well, when he did, the youngest son found a golden goose inside. He was then able to sell the golden feathers, which made him rich.
Hey, Jim, you run away from home too?
Asked Huckleberry Finn.
Yup.
Well, fancy going on lots of adventures?
Yup.
Taking a raft down Mississippi?
Yup.
And joining a circus?
Yup.
When Ivanhoe was wounded in a tournament, a girl called Rebecca looked after him, and as he recovered, they fell in love. Then one day she was captured by the evil Boris Gilbert, but because she had looked after Ivanhoe, he came and rescued her. Let me tell you about Meg, Jo, Beth and Amy.
OK.
Even though their father was away in the war, they were very good, did lots of interesting things, put on plays and formed a secret society.
Were they little?
I think so.
The Minotaur was a very dangerous beast that lived in a maze. To keep him happy, 7 boys and 7 girls were left in the maze for him to eat.
I like eating children.
The only way for Theseus to save the children was to kill the beast, which he did, and he found his way out of the maze by unwinding a ball of string. "I've always wanted to be a musketeer,"
said a young swordsman as he travelled to Paris to challenge the 3 musketeers to a fight. But before they could duel, the guards of the wicked cardinal tried to arrest them. D'Artagnan fought off all the guards, and the musketeers were so impressed, they asked him to join them.
The Emperor of China loved listening to the nightingale's song.
"Catch me a nightingale and put it in a cage so I can always hear it sing,"
ordered the Emperor, but the nightingale escaped because it didn't like it in the cage. He was given a clockwork nightingale in its place, which would always sing and never try to escape, but one day it broke. Without the bird song to amuse the Emperor, he became very ill. Hearing this, the real nightingale returned and promised to sing for him as long as he could remain free.
One Christmas Eve, Clara's godfather gave her a nutcracker carved like a toy soldier. That night, Clara dreamt that an evil mouse king tried to kill her, but she was rescued by her brave soldier.
This story would make a lovely ballet.
An old toy maker made a wooden puppet.
I shall call him Pinocchio.
But he wished it was a real boy and asked a fairy to give him life. As soon as Pinocchio came alive, he ran away. The old man searched everywhere for him, but was swallowed by a whale. Pinocchio saved him, and the fairy made him into a real boy.
There were 2 boys who looked very much like each other, but one was a poor boy called Tom, and the other was a prince called Edward Tudor. One day the boys met and they hatched a plan.
"Let's swap clothes for a day and see if anyone notices,"
suggested Tom. But when one of the guards spotted the real prince in pauper's clothes, he threw him out of the castle. The prince, seeing how poor people lived, came back and made lots of changes in the kingdom.
"I'm Roberta, and this is my young brother Peter and sister Phyllis. When Dad went away, we had to leave London and come and live in the country. But it's not that bad because we've made lots of new friends. Every day we visit the railway. Maybe one day our daddy will come home."
When Mary's parents died, she had to go and live with her uncle in a huge house in England. She was lonely and sad until one day she discovered a hidden door in a wall. When she went through the door, she discovered a secret garden that no one had been in for years.
Oh, it's lovely.
"Whoever pulls Excalibur from this stone will become King of England."
Many men tried, but it wasn't until an innocent young man called Arthur saw the sword in the stone and gave it a tug. The sword came free, and Arthur became King of England.
Hooray!
One day, a prince was hunting swans when one of them turned into a beautiful girl called Odette.
"All our swans have been put under a spell,"
said the girl.
"and only you can release us from it."
The prince, falling in love with Odette, vowed he would set them free, even risking death to save them.
There was once a toy tin soldier who only had one leg.
"No one will love me with just one leg,"
he thought. But when he saw a toy ballerina who from the way she stood looked like she only had one leg, he fell in love with her. One day, a gust of wind blew them both into the fire, but the brave soldier protected his darling ballerina from the flames. "I'm Tom, and all I used to do all day was climb up chimneys and clean 'em. Then one day, I jumped in a stream to clean myself up, and I turned into a water baby, which meant I could stay underwater for as long as I wanted. Now I'm happy. I don't have to go up chimneys, I'm not dirty anymore, and I have loads and loads of adventures.
There was once a king with 11 sons and one daughter called Elise. Their stepmother was so jealous of the 12 children, she sent Elise away and turned the 11 princes into swans.
I know people will think I'm mad,
said Elise.
but the only way to turn my brothers back into princes is to make each of them a shirt of nettles.
People did think she was mad, but it worked, and she got all her brothers back.
A hungry wolf met a lamb and needed an excuse to eat him.
You insulted me last year.
But I wasn't born last year.
Then you drank from my well.
I only drink my mother's milk.
The wolf got so angry with the lamb's replies, he gobbled him up anyway.
What are you and what do you like to eat?
Was all a wide-mouthed frog would ask. One day he met an alligator.
What are you and what do you like to eat?
I'm an alligator, and I eat wide-mouthed frogs. Have you seen any?
No, you don't seem to see many of those about today, do you?
William Tell, you must bow down to me.
Said an evil bailiff, but William refused.
OK, then you must shoot an apple off your son's head or be arrested.
William was a top shot and hit the apple.
Just so you know,
said William.
if I had missed, the second arrow would have been for you. Mean old Ebenezer Scrooge went to bed on Christmas Eve and was visited by 3 ghosts.
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
I am the ghost of Christmas present.
I am the ghost of Christmas future.
Ebenezer was so frightened by what they showed him that when he woke up on Christmas morning, he decided never to be mean again.
Mum,
Said a baby elephant who had no trunk.
what do crocodiles have for dinner?
But his mum was too busy to answer, so he wandered down to the great grey-green Limpopo River.
Hi, Mr. Crocodile, what do you eat for dinner?
I eat baby elephants, said the crocodile, grabbing the elephant by the nose. And he pulled until his nose stretched.
Oh, and that's how we got our trunks. One day, 2 tailors came to an emperor's castle and said,
We can make you a suit from cloth so fine, only the cleverest people can see it. Really?
said the emperor.
Then make me a suit.
But the tailors pretended to hold up a suit.
This is magnificent.
And not wanting to look foolish, he pretended to wear it. His courtiers all laughed because he had nothing on. I'm It. No, not like the game. That's me, my name, It. I don't like people disturbing me because I have to grant them wishes, which is what happened when 5 children came to visit. But my wishes only last a day, and those 5 children can never think of a proper wish. Here's a good one. I wish they'd go away.
David Balfour went to stay with his mean uncle, Ebenezer, at his old family home. But Ebenezer arranged for David to be kidnapped and thrown on board a ship. Whilst at sea, the ship hit another and they both capsized. But David was rescued by a man called Alan Stewart, and they became close friends.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, David. How are you? One night, Wendy and her 2 brothers were in their nursery when Peter Pan appeared.
Fly with me to Neverland and I will show you lots of adventures,
said Peter. But Wendy got caught by the wicked Captain Hook and was just about to walk the plank when Peter rescued her.
I am Pandora, and I am the most beautiful woman in the world.
And she was. One day she got married and the Greek god Zeus gave her a magic box as a present. Never look inside the box, he warned her. But she did, and all the most terrible things imaginable came pouring out.
I wish I hadn't done that now.
Rick Van Winkle!
Shouted his wife all the time.
Go to the woods and get some more firewood!
In the woods, he met a dwarf and helped him carry his barrel to a cave where lots of dwarfs were having a party. Rip drank from the barrel and fell asleep for 20 years. When he finally got home, his wife had gone and he had a much more peaceful life.
I'm Jim Hawkins, and this is a map of an island where treasure is buried. We're going there right now.
But the cook, Long John Silver, stole the map
Here, give it back.
and managed to get the treasure for himself.
One day, Tom Sawyer decided to skip school and live like a pirate with his friends Huckleberry Finn and Joe Harper. They disappeared and headed off on lots of adventures. When they got home, their own funeral was taking place.
We thought you were dead. You've been gone so long.
But if you put me back in the sea, I will grant you 3 wishes.
Said a fish to a fisherman. When he got home, he told his wife.
You threw the fish away and we have no food. I wish we have something to eat.
And a plate of sausages appeared on the table.
I've just wasted a wish on a plate of sausages. I wish they were at the end of your nose.
And the sausages were on the fisherman's nose. Then the wife wished the sausages were gone, and they were. I wish you'd disappear, said the fisherman, but they'd run out of wishes.
On a dreamy summer afternoon, Alice thought she saw a white rabbit disappear down a hole. She decided to follow, but found she was too big to fit through the door at the bottom. After drinking a magic potion, she shrunk and had lots of adventures in Wonderland.
King Hrothgar had a great hall where he would hold parties with his warriors, but a monster, hearing the music, would break into the hall and take one of the warriors home for his tea.
I will rid you of you, monster!
Said Beowulf, a massive warrior who had just arrived. He waited in the hall, and when the monster burst in, Beowulf was ready with his sword and chased the monster away.
Keep off my straw,
Said the dog.
But I'm hungry.
Said the zebra. But the dog would not let the zebra eat the straw, even though he did not want to eat it himself. Dick Whittington went to London with his cat to find his fortune.
I hear the streets are paved with gold,
He said to a rich man, who gave Dick a job in his store, and his cat a job chasing rats. But when some money was stolen, Dick and his cat were thrown out. As he left London, he heard the church bells calling him back.
Turn around, Dick, you will be Mayor of London.
A particularly troubling dragon lived just outside Beirut. To keep it happy, the townsfolk fed it sheep. But soon they ran out of sheep, so started feeding it children. When it was the king's turn to leave one of his children, he sent his young princess.
Oh, do I have to go, Dad?
St. George, the famous dragon slayer, hearing of the princess's fate, went to save her, killing the dragon with his sword.
Hooray! Hooray for St. George!
Hooray!
Shipwrecked on an island, Gulliver was captured by the tiny people of the kingdom of Lilliput.
I shall help you with your war,
Said Gulliver to the Emperor of Lilliput, and with his help they won, and Gulliver was soon given his freedom.
Bye-bye, Gully. Bye-bye, bon voyage.
A little fir tree grew in a forest.
How happy I would be if I was bigger.
Then one day, when he was big, he thought,
If only I could be taken into a house for Christmas.
he became a Christmas tree, but still he wasn't happy.
If only I could be taken outside in the yard.
Which happened. After Christmas, he was taken into the yard and chopped up for firewood. Little Red Hen found some grains of wheat.
Who will help me collect these grains and bake a cake?
She asked.
Not I.
Said the dog.
Not I.
Said the cat.
Not I.
Said the pig.
Then I will do it myself.
And she did.
Then who will help me eat the cake?
We will,
said the animals.
No, I will eat it myself.
Aha! I be Ahab, whaling-shipped captain. Lost me leg trying to catch the great white whale, Moby Dick, but I'll get him next time.
But when Ahab caught up with the whale, he got dragged under the water by the enormous beast.
Moby Dick won, Ahab nil.
Robin Hood lived in Sherwood Forest with his band of merry men, so he could hide from the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Because the king's taxes are so high.
Exclaimed Robin.
Yeah, and I steal from the rich and give to the poor, which really annoys him.
The Swiss family Robinson were shipwrecked on what they thought was an uninhabited island. But the eldest boy went for a walk and met a girl called Jenny, who had also been shipwrecked.
My father will send a ship for me,
said Jenny.
and we can leave the island together.
I am Sinbad the Sailor, and I have had many adventures on the seven seas. Once I was shipwrecked on an island, and I met an old man of the sea who asked me if I could carry him on my back, which I did. But he wouldn't get off, that is, until I got him drunk with some wine and managed to escape. Ha! Ha 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 ha!
A king with 12 daughters noticed that every morning they were tired and their dancing shoes were worn through.
If anyone can find out where my daughters go at night,
He said.
then they can marry anyone they choose.
A soldier agreed to try and hid himself in the princess's room under a magic cloak. The next morning he told the king what he saw.
I followed your daughters to an enchanted land where they danced all night. Oh, and I like your oldest daughter best.
Then you shall marry her, as I promised.